The metal doors of the briefing room slide shut with a heavy sound that echoes through the dark space. Commander Tyke stands at the front of the room, looking at the young alien soldiers who fill every seat. Their eyes shine with excitement, and their bodies lean forward ready to hear about their first real combat mission. Some of them whisper to each other about how easy it will be to defeat the weak humans. Others clean their advanced weapons with confident smiles on their strange faces. Tyke remembers being exactly like these young soldiers 20 years ago when he first heard about humans. He thought they were just another primitive species that would surrender quickly when they saw the mighty Galactic army. But now his hands shake, slightly as he touches the control panel to start the old war recordings. His blue skin looks pale under the dim lights and deep scars run across his arms from battles. These young ones cannot imagine. The first image appears on the giant screen, showing a beautiful planet with green forests, blue oceans, and white clouds floating peacefully in the sky. The young soldiers look at it with hungry eyes, already thinking about the resources they will take and the glory they will win. But Tyke sees something different in that image. He sees the place where everything he believed about war changed forever. This planet was called Earth by its people and Kepler, 442b by the Galactic Council. Tyke tells them in a voice that grows quieter with each word. 20 years ago, our great fleet arrived there with 1 million soldiers. We had weapons that could melt mountains and ships that could crack planets in half. The humans had only 50,000 defenders and guns that looked like ancient relics from a museum. We thought the battle would last maybe one day. The screen changes to show massive alien warships descending through the atmosphere like metal storms. Their weapons light up the sky with deadly energy beams that turn human cities into burning ruins. In just 6 hours, the Galactic Army destroys most of the human military bases and captures all the important leaders. The young soldiers in the briefing room cheer and pump their fists in the air, thinking this is exactly how war should go. But then Tyke shows them something that makes their cheers die in their throats. The image changes to show alien soldiers lying dead in perfect rows. Their advanced armor cracked open like broken eggs. Each body has a single hole through the helmet right where their brain would be. The shots are so precise that they look like the work of a surgeon, not a warrior. There are hundreds of bodies and they all died. The same way. One human did this, Tyke says, pointing to the screen. One ordinary, human soldier with a simple rifle that their primitive factories made. He was not their best warrior or their strongest fighter. He was just a regular person defending his home. But what he did to our army changed everything we thought we knew about these creatures. The young soldiers look confused and some of them laugh nervously. How could one human with an old gun kill so many elite galactic warriors? They have trained their whole lives to fight. They have armor that can stop nuclear explosions and weapons that can shoot through solid rock. What tricks could a weak human possibly know that they do not? Tyke changes the image again. And now they see a mountain range covered in thick forests and deep valleys. The peaks reach up into the clouds, and thousands of caves dot the rocky walls. It looks peaceful and beautiful, but Tyke knows the truth about those mountains. They became the graveyard for the best soldiers in the Galactic Army and the birthplace of the most terrifying legend in military history. His name was Tyke continues, and his voice becomes so quiet that every soldier has to lean forward to hear him. He was 34 years old and worked as a teacher in a small human school before the war started. He had a wife, named Yoon, who grew flowers in their garden, and a daughter named Sol, who was learning to read her first books. When our bombs destroyed his city, both his wife and daughter died in the flames. The room becomes completely silent as the young soldiers try to understand what they are hearing. This human was not a professional killer or a trained assassin. He was just a normal person living a quiet life until the Galactic Army took everything away from him. But sometimes Tyke knows the most dangerous enemy is not the one who fights for money or glory, but the one who fights because he has nothing left to lose. After his family died, Day took his hunting rifle and walked into those mountains. Tyke says, pointing back to the screen, "We thought he was just another refugee trying to hide until the war ended." But Day was not hiding. He was preparing to teach us a lesson about what happens when you take away everything a human loves. The first sign that something was wrong came 3 days after the main battle ended. A patrol of 20 soldiers went into the mountains to look for hiding humans and capture any survivors. By evening, only half of them came back. The others had simply vanished without any radio calls or sounds of fighting. The surviving soldiers said they felt like someone was watching them the whole time, but they never saw anyone. More patrols went missing over the next week. Each time fewer soldiers came back, and the ones who survived told the same story. They felt eyes watching them from the rocks and trees, but their advanced sensors showed nothing. They heard footsteps following them, but when they turned around, they saw only empty forest. Their night vision equipment picked up strange shadows moving between the trees, but when they investigated, they found nothing but wind. The young soldiers in the briefing room are not laughing anymore. They look at each other with growing fear as they begin to understand that this story is not about their glorious victory. It is about something much darker and more terrifying than anything they learned in military school. They are learning about an enemy who fights not with superior weapons or numbers, but with patience, cunning, and the desperate love of someone who has lost everything. Tyke looks at each of their faces and sees his own younger self staring back at him. 20 years ago, he sat in a room just like this one listening to briefings about how easy it would be to conquer the humans. He believed that technology and training would always defeat primitives armed with simple weapons. But the mountains of Earth taught him that war is not always about who has the biggest guns. Sometimes war is about who is willing to sacrifice everything for the people and places they love. And sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you never see coming. Lieutenant Bong leads his squad of 12 elite soldiers up the Rocky Mountain path, 3 days after the great victory over the human forces. The morning sun makes their advanced armor shine like mirrors, and their powerful weapons hum with deadly energy. They are the best fighters from 3 different planets trained since childhood to kill enemies and conquer worlds. This cleanup mission should be easy work, just finding scared human survivors hiding in caves. The mountain air feels cold against Bong's face, even through his environmental suit. Something about this place makes his skin crawl with worry, even though their sensors show no immediate danger. The trees are too quiet, and the birds that should be singing have all flown away. His 12 soldiers march behind him in perfect formation, but Bong keeps looking over his shoulder, expecting to see enemies that are not there. By noon, they have climbed halfway up the mountain, and Bong realizes something is wrong. When he stops to count his soldiers, there are only 11 behind him. Private Kang is missing, but nobody heard any fighting or screams. Kang was walking at the back of their group just 10 minutes ago, and now he has vanished like smoke in the wind. Where is Private? Kang Bong asks his remaining soldiers, but they all look confused and worried. They remember seeing Kang earlier, but nobody can say exactly when he disappeared. Their advanced communication equipment shows no distress signals, and their tracking devices cannot find any trace of the missing soldier. It is like Kang simply stopped existing. Sergeant Min pulls out his scanner and waves it around, looking for heat signatures or movement. The device beeps and clicks as it searches, but shows nothing, except small animals hiding in the underbrush. No human life signs anywhere within 5 kilometers, and no sign of Private Kang either. The mountain seems completely empty except for their own squad. But then Min hears something that makes his blood freeze. A soft metallic sound, like someone very carefully placing a metal object on stone. The sound comes from somewhere above them, but when all the soldiers look up, they see only rocks and trees. Their weapons are ready, and their eyes scan every shadow, but the mountain has become silent again. The sound comes again, closer this time, like careful footsteps on loose gravel. Every soldier points their weapon toward the noise, but sees nothing moving. Their night vision scopes show only empty rocks, and their heat sensors pick up nothing larger than a small bird. The ghost making these sounds knows how to stay invisible, even from their advanced technology. We need to keep moving. Bong orders, but his voice shakes slightly as he speaks. He tries to sound confident for his soldiers, but inside he feels a fear he has never experienced before. This is not the clean, simple battle he expected, where enemies charge at you with weapons blazing. This is something else entirely. Something that hunts from shadows and strikes without warning. As they continue up the mountain path, Corporal Hyun suddenly grabs Bong's arm and points to a ridge 500 meters away. I saw something move up there, Just for a second, he whispers. But when they all look through their powerful scopes, they see nothing. The ridge looks exactly like every other pile of rocks on this mountain, empty and lifeless. But Bong knows Hyun has the best eyes in their squad, and never makes mistakes about movement. If Hyun says he saw something, then something was definitely there. The problem is that whatever it was moved faster than their eyes could track and hid better than their instruments could detect. It is like fighting an enemy made of air and shadows. That night they set up camp in a small clearing surrounded by tall trees. Bong posts guards at every corner and sets up motion detectors that can spot a mouse from 100 meters away. Their camp is like a fortress with overlapping fields of fire, and escape routes planned in every direction. Nothing should be able to get close without triggering multiple alarms. The soldiers take turns sleeping while others watch for danger. Bong lies in his sleeping bag, staring up at the stars through the gaps in the trees. Every small sound makes him reach for his weapon. Every shadow seems to move with hidden enemies. But the night passes quietly with only the normal sounds of wind and small animals moving through the forest. When morning comes, Bong counts his soldiers and feels his heart stop. 3 more are missing privates. Sung and Kwan have vanished from their sleeping bags, leaving only empty fabric behind, and Corporal Park, who was supposed to be on guard duty, is nowhere to be found. Alarms sounded during the night and nobody heard anything unusual. The missing soldiers' sleeping bags are still warm, but there is no sign of struggle or violence. Small drops of blood on the ground lead toward the tree line, but disappear after just a few meters. Their weapons and equipment are still in the camp, but the soldiers themselves have vanished as completely as if they never existed. Bong realizes with growing terror that they are not hunting a human refugee hiding in these mountains. They are being hunted by something that knows these rocks and trees better than they know their own weapons. Something that can move without sound, kill without noise, and disappear without trace. They came here as predators, but somehow they have become the prey. The human sniper named Day is out there somewhere watching them from hiding places they cannot imagine. He knows exactly where they are at every moment, but they have no idea where he might be. The mountains themselves seem to be helping him stay hidden, while their advanced technology fails them completely. 8 soldiers remain from the original 12, and Bong knows that number will keep getting smaller unless they can find a way to fight an enemy they cannot see. There, training taught them to battle other armies with similar weapons and tactics, but nothing prepared them for this kind of warfare, where the enemy uses patience instead of power and knowledge instead of technology. As they pack up their camp and prepare to continue the mission, Bong looks up at the mountain peaks towering above them. Somewhere in those rocks and trees, a human teacher-turned-warrior is planning their deaths with the same care he once used to plan lessons for children, and Bong is beginning to understand that all their advanced weapons and training might not be enough to stop him. Captain Yoon receives Lieutenant Bong's desperate radio call at dawn and cannot believe what he hears. Half of an elite squad has vanished in the mountains without any signs of battle or enemy contact. This should be impossible since their soldiers carry the best weapons and sensors in the galaxy. But the fear in Bong's voice tells Yoon that something terrible is happening in those quiet hills. Yoon immediately sends 200 of his finest soldiers to sweep every cave and valley in the mountain range. They carry thermal imaging devices that can spot body heat through solid rock sound detectors that can hear a whisper from 2 kilometers away, and flying drones that can track a mouse from 10 kilometers high. With all this technology, how can one primitive human stay hidden? The answer lies in knowledge that no machine can replace and patience that no alien species truly understands. Day has lived in these mountains for 15 years since he first moved here with his wife and daughter. He knows every trail that hunters used for centuries, every cave where animals shelter during storms, and every spot where the wind changes direction and carries sound in unexpected ways. While the alien soldiers search with their fancy equipment, Day moves through his homeland using skills passed down from grandfather to father to son. He covers his body with mud from the stream beds that masks his heat signature and rolls in wet leaves that break up his human scent. His grandfather taught him these tricks for hunting deer and bear, but they work just as well for hunting aliens. The thermal scanners see only cold mud, the sound detectors hear only wind through leaves, and the flying drones spot only shadows that could be rocks or logs. Day has become part of the mountain itself, invisible to eyes and instruments that look for human shapes, but cannot recognize human cleverness. From his hiding place behind a fallen tree trunk, Day watches 50 alien soldiers march past him so close, he could reach out and touch their boots. They are looking everywhere except down at the ground where he lies perfectly still, covered in dirt and branches like a piece of the forest floor. Their sensors sweep left and right, but never down at what appears to be natural debris. When the patrol moves away, Day counts to 1,000 before he moves a single muscle. His grandfather taught him that patience is the difference between a successful hunter and a dead one. The aliens think like machines, always rushing, always scanning, always moving, but real hunting requires the ability to become stone when necessary. Now comes the deadly work that Day has planned with the precision of a master craftsman. He has memorized their patrol routes by watching. From hidden positions for 3 days, he knows they change guards every 2 hours, that they always check in with radio calls at exact times, and that they become less careful when they think an area is empty. Day begins his hunt by targeting the soldiers at the back of each patrol group. These aliens never look behind them because their formation tactics assume enemies will attack from the front. Their training teaches them to present a strong face to danger, but leaves their rear completely unprotected from a patient sniper who strikes like a ghost. His rifle is a simple human weapon that his father used for hunting mountain goats 40 years ago. It has no computer assistance, no laser sights, and no electronic targeting systems. But Day knows this gun better than his own heartbeat. He knows exactly how the wind affects each shot, how the thin mountain air changes bullet flight, and how to compensate for every possible variable. The first shot comes from 800 meters away, so far that the aliens cannot even hear the sound of the rifle firing. The bullet travels through morning mist and finds its target in the small gap between helmet and neck armor, where alien anatomy is most vulnerable. One soldier drops silently to the ground while his companions march forward, unaware that death has visited their ranks. Day is already moving before the bullet reaches its target, gliding through trees and rocks like water flowing downhill. His grandfather taught him to shoot, shoot and move, never staying in one place long enough for enemies to find him. By the time the aliens discover their dead companion, Day is 300 meters away in a completely different hiding spot. The second shot comes 30 minutes later from a different angle and a different distance. Another alien soldier falls with the same precise wound to the same vulnerable spot. The aliens finally realize they are under attack, but their return fire hits only empty rocks and trees. Day has already vanished into terrain he has known since childhood. Every few hours another soldier dies. Always the same way. Always from a different location. Always without warning. The aliens find the bodies hours later, when they finally notice someone is missing. Each corpse has a single bullet hole in exactly the same spot, showing surgical precision that their own best marksmen cannot match. The killing pattern continues for days, and the alien soldiers become more frightened with each new death. They jump at every sound scan, every shadow, and fire at anything that moves. But Day remains invisible, using hiding places that no alien mind would think to search: caves that require crawling on hands and knees, tree hollows that seem too small for a human body, and rock crevices that blend perfectly with natural shadows. Their advanced technology becomes useless against an enemy who understands the difference between looking and seeing, between hearing and listening, between tracking and hunting. Machines can process data, but they cannot think like a human who grew up in mountains, where making noise means going hungry and being impatient means dying from cold. Day keeps count of his ammunition because every bullet is precious and must not be wasted. He has killed 27 alien soldiers with 27 shots, never missing, never needing a second bullet for the same target. His father would be proud of such accurate shooting, even though the targets are enemies instead of food for the family. As night falls, Day sits in a cave that his grandfather showed him when he was 10 years old, eating cold food and cleaning his rifle with careful attention to every part. Tomorrow there will be more aliens to hunt and more shots to take. Each bullet carries the weight of his dead wife and daughter, pushing him toward perfect aim every single time. The aliens have superior numbers and better weapons, but Day has something more powerful: the desperate love of a man defending his home against invaders who destroyed everything he cared about. They fight for conquest and glory, but he fights for memory and revenge. And in these mountains where every rock tells a story, only he can read that makes him the most dangerous. Predator alive. Word about the ghost sniper spreads through the Galactic army base like a plague that infects minds instead of bodies. Soldiers who fought bravely against entire human armies now refuse to patrol the mountain regions. They huddle in their barracks, telling each other stories that grow more terrifying with each telling. Some say the human can shoot through solid rock. Others claim he can become invisible at will, and a few whisper that he is actually a dead spirit seeking revenge. The fear becomes so thick that experienced veterans who have conquered dozens of planets start having nightmares about invisible enemies. They wake up screaming in their sleep and jump at every small sound, thinking the human sniper has found them even inside their heavily protected base. Some soldiers ask for transfers to other battlefields, claiming they would rather fight 10,000 humans in open warfare than face one hidden sniper in the mountains. General 1 calls an emergency meeting in his command center, bringing together every high-ranking officer in the army. His purple skin shows dark patches of stress, and his 4 eyes dart nervously around the room, as if expecting enemies to materialize from the shadows. The reports covering his desk tell an impossible story. One human with an ancient weapon has killed over 100 elite soldiers without suffering a single casualty. This cannot be happening, one says, slamming his clawed hand on the metal table. Our weapons can destroy entire cities, our armor can stop nuclear explosions, and our soldiers are trained from birth to be perfect killing machines. One primitive human with an old gun should not be able to defeat our entire mountain division, but Commander Rock, who has been fighting humans for 5 years, slowly shakes his head in disagreement. General, you still do not understand what makes humans different from every other species we have conquered. They do not fight the way we fight. They do not think the way we think, and they do not fear death the way other creatures fear death. Rock stands and walks to the large screen showing satellite images of the mountain range where so many soldiers have died. We use overwhelming force, advanced technology, and superior numbers, because that is how civilized warfare works. We meet our enemies in open battle. We destroy their armies and we accept their surrender. But humans are not civilized in the way we understand civilization. The screen shows thermal scans of the mountains, revealing nothing but rocks, trees, and small animals moving through the forest. Their most advanced sensors cannot find any trace of human presence, even though they know the sniper is still out there somewhere, waiting patiently for the next patrol to enter his killing ground. Humans fight with emotions we do not possess. Rock continues, pointing to areas where soldiers have died. They fight not just to win battles, but to protect things they love more than their own lives. This sniper lost his family when we bombed his city, and now he carries their memory with him like a weapon that never runs out of ammunition. General Juan becomes angry at suggestions that primitive emotions could be stronger than military technology. Then we will remove all emotion from this equation, he declares. We will burn every tree on that mountain, turn every rock to dust, and glass the entire region with orbital bombardment. No human can hide from the power of our battleships. The other officers nod in agreement, thinking this solution will finally end their embarrassment. But Rock knows that humans have already changed something deep inside their army that cannot be fixed with bigger weapons. The fear has already spread too far and taken root in too many minds. Even if they kill this one sniper, the legend will live on. Meanwhile, in his mountain cave, Day sits cleaning his rifle with the same careful attention his father taught him decades ago. He has 37 bullets remaining in his ammunition supply, but he does not worry about running out. Each shot has killed exactly one enemy soldier, and he knows these mountains can protect him longer than the aliens can maintain their patience. He thinks about Yoon working in their small garden behind their house, teaching Sol the names of different flowers and how to plant seeds in neat rows. He remembers Sol reading her favorite book aloud while sitting on his lap, her small voice stumbling over difficult words but never giving up until she got them right. These memories fuel his aim and guide his bullets with deadly precision. The aliens have technology that can level mountains and weapons that can crack planets, but they do not understand the power that drives a man who has lost everything he loved. They think war is about superior equipment and better tactics, but Day knows that sometimes war is about who is willing to sacrifice more for the things that matter. Every night, Day listens to the alien radio communications as they report. They're casualties and request reinforcements. Their voices carry fear now instead of confidence, and he can hear how badly his invisible war is affecting their morale. They came to his planet expecting easy victory against primitive weapons, but instead, they found an enemy who fights with patience, cunning, and the desperate strength of grief. The aliens send more patrols with better equipment, but it makes no difference. Day has been preparing these mountains as his battlefield for weeks now, setting traps and creating hiding places that no amount of technology can discover. He moves through terrain he has known since childhood, like a ghost who belongs to this place in ways the invaders never will. Some nights when the wind carries sounds from the alien base, Day can hear soldiers talking about him in voices filled with superstitious fear. They call him the Mountain Demon, the Invisible Death, and the Ghost who never misses his target. These names would have made him laugh before the war, when he was just a teacher trying to help children learn about the world. But now these names represent something more important than his own life. They represent hope for other humans, who might be hiding on other planets waiting for their chance to fight back against the Galactic army. The aliens are learning that conquering humans requires more than superior technology. It requires breaking the human spirit, and that may be impossible. As Day prepares for sleep in his cold cave, he knows tomorrow will bring more enemies to hunt and more opportunities to teach the aliens about human warfare. Each bullet he fires carries a message that will spread far beyond these mountains, telling other worlds that humans do not surrender easily, and that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you never see coming. General Juan decides to end this humiliation with a plan that cannot possibly fail. He calls together 50 of his most elite soldiers from across the galaxy. Each one, a master killer trained in special warfare techniques. Their armor can withstand direct hits from human tanks, their weapons can shoot through solid rock, and their sensors can detect a human heartbeat from over 1 kilometer away. If anyone can kill this ghost sniper, it will be these ultimate warriors. The hunter-killer team arrives at the mountain base with equipment that costs more than most planetary invasion fleets. Each soldier carries experimental weapons that have never been used in actual combat, and wears prototype armor that makes them nearly invulnerable to anything humans can throw at them. Their leader, Colonel Mock, has personally killed over 300 enemies in hand-to-hand combat and has never failed a mission. We will find this human and end his pathetic resistance once and for all, Mock tells his team as they study satellite maps of the mountain region. He is just one primitive creature with an ancient weapon hiding in caves like a frightened animal. We are the apex predators of 50 different worlds, and he will learn what real warfare looks like. But while the aliens plan their assault with confidence and advanced technology, Day has been preparing for exactly this moment for the past 3 weeks. He has studied their patrol patterns, memorized their communication schedules, and, most importantly, learned to predict their tactical thinking. The aliens always use the same strategies because those strategies always worked against other species. Day knows they will send their best hunters eventually, because their pride cannot tolerate being defeated by one human. He also knows these elite soldiers will be more dangerous than regular troops, but they will also be more predictable because elite units follow doctrine more precisely than ordinary soldiers. Their superior training becomes a weakness when facing an enemy who fights outside all known rules. For days, Day leaves subtle traces for their advanced sensors to follow. A broken branch here that could be natural but might be intentional. A footprint in soft mud that appears fresh but could be from any time. A piece of cloth caught on thorns that might have come from human clothing. Each clue is carefully placed to lead them exactly where he wants them to go. The elite soldiers follow these traces with growing excitement, thinking they have finally found the trail of their elusive prey. Their sensors confirm human presence in the area, and their tracking computers calculate the most likely direction of travel. Everything points toward a narrow canyon deep in the mountains where the terrain will limit the sniper's escape routes. This canyon holds special meaning for Dai, because his grandfather brought him here as a child to learn about hunting dangerous animals. The old man explained how ancient hunters would drive bears and mountain cats into this natural trap, where high stone walls prevented escape and created perfect killing fields for patient marksmen. Now Dai will use the same tactics against the most dangerous animals he has ever faced as the 50 elite soldiers enter the canyon. Following what they believe is a fresh trail, Day triggers the first part of his carefully prepared surprise: explosives made from mining equipment that he salvaged from abandoned human settlements bring down tons of rock to block the only exit from the canyon. The alien soldiers find themselves trapped in a stone box with no way out. More explosives hidden in the canyon walls create landslides that fill the air with choking dust and flying debris. The perfectly organized formation of elite soldiers becomes chaos as they struggle to see through the dust clouds and communicate over the noise of falling rocks. Their advanced equipment helps them survive the initial rockfall, but cannot protect them from what comes next. In the confusion of collapsing stone and swirling dust, Day becomes death itself, moving through terrain. He mapped and memorized weeks in advance. He knows exactly where every soldier will take cover, where their blind spots will be, and how their training will make them react to surprise attacks. Their elite status means they follow procedures perfectly, but procedures become predictable to an enemy who studies them. The first shots come from impossible angles as Day moves through hidden passages between the rocks that he spent days preparing. He fires once, moves to a new position through tunnels only he knows about, fires again, and vanishes before return fire can find him. The elite soldiers discover that their superior armor means nothing when bullets find the tiny gaps every suit must have. Their advanced sensors become useless in the confined space of the canyon, where sound bounces off stone walls in confusing echoes and dust particles interfere with thermal imaging. The flying drones that should give them aerial surveillance crash into rock walls or get lost in the maze of falling stones, leaving the soldiers blind and vulnerable. Day has become the mountain itself, striking from every direction and disappearing into stone as if he was never there. The elite soldiers fire their powerful weapons at shadows and echoes, wasting ammunition on empty rocks, while the real enemy moves through secret paths that no amount of training could have prepared them for. One by one, the greatest warriors from 50 different worlds fall to carefully placed shots from a simple human hunting rifle. Each death comes without warning from directions they never expected, leaving survivors more frightened and confused. The canyon that was supposed to be a trap for the human becomes a slaughter ground for the aliens. As the sun moves across the sky above the canyon walls, the number of living soldiers drops steadily from 50 to 30 to 20 to 10. Day uses only 23 of his precious bullets because each shot is placed with surgical precision, born from years of hunting in these same mountains. Their elite training cannot overcome his intimate knowledge of every rock and shadow. Final 10 soldiers huddle together in the center of the canyon, back to back with weapons pointing in every direction, but they cannot shoot an enemy. They cannot see. Their radio calls for help echo uselessly off stone walls, and their advanced armor feels like metal coffins waiting to be filled. The mountain has become their grave, and Day is the gravedigger. When silence finally returns to the canyon as the last soldier falls, Day emerges from his hiding places to collect what supplies he can use. Their advanced equipment is too complex for him to operate, but he takes their simple things like food, water, and basic tools. Everything else he leaves as a message for whoever finds this place. 50 of the galaxy's finest warriors came into his mountains with weapons and armor worth more than entire human cities. They thought their technology and training made them superior to any primitive human, but they learned too late that some things matter more than superior equipment. The desperate love of a man defending his home and the patient wisdom of someone who knows every stone on his chosen battlefield. As Day climbs out of the canyon and disappears back into his mountain fortress, he knows this victory will spread fear through the entire galactic army like fire through dry grass. The aliens will realize that their best warriors and most advanced weapons cannot guarantee victory against humans who fight for things more important than conquest and glory. Commander Tyke finishes his story and looks around the silent briefing room at the faces of young soldiers who came here full of excitement and confidence about their first real combat mission. Their expressions have changed completely during his telling of the Mountain War. Some look frightened, others appear thoughtful, but none of them seem eager to fight humans anymore. The silence stretches for long minutes as each young warrior tries to process what they have learned about the enemy they thought would be easy to defeat. These are not primitive creatures with simple weapons, but something far more dangerous: beings who fight not for glory or conquest, but for love of home and memory of the dead. Finally, a young lieutenant with bright green skin raises her hand and asks the question that everyone wants answered. What happened to the human sniper named Day after he killed all 50 elite soldiers? Did your army finally manage to hunt him down and end his resistance? Tyke is quiet for a moment, remembering the desperate months that followed the Canyon massacre, when General Juan threw everything he had at those cursed mountains. We tried every weapon in our arsenal, he says slowly. Orbital bombardment that turned forests into burning wasteland, poison gas that killed every living thing for miles in every direction. Hunting robots programmed with his tactics and movement patterns. Even small nuclear weapons that left craters where beautiful valleys used to be. The young soldiers listen with growing amazement as Tyke describes the fury of an entire galactic army focused on killing one human teacher with a simple rifle. Battleships designed to destroy planets turned their attention to hunting a single sniper in terrain that seemed to protect him like a living thing. Every advanced technology in their military was used to end his invisible war. For 6 months we poured death onto those mountains until nothing remained alive. Tyke continues, his voice heavy. With old memories, the rocks themselves became radioactive glass and the poisoned air killed anything that tried to breathe. No plant or animal or human could possibly survive in that dead wasteland we created. But then his voice drops to almost a whisper, and every soldier in the room leans forward to catch his words. We never found his body. The room becomes completely silent again as the implications of this statement sink into their minds. Even after months of bombardment with weapons that could sterilize entire continents, the human sniper seemed to have vanished without leaving any trace of his existence. Some nights when our patrols pass through those dead mountains, soldiers report seeing shadows move between the glassed rocks. Tyke says, they hear the sound of careful footsteps on poisoned ground, but when they investigate with their sensors they find nothing. Their equipment detects no life signs, but the feeling of being watched never goes away. A young soldier with blue scales asks if Tyke believes the human sniper somehow survived the complete destruction of his mountain home. But Tyke shakes his head slowly. Nobody could live through what we did to that place. We turned it into a dead zone where even our own sensors malfunction and our equipment breaks down from residual radiation. Then what do the soldiers see in those mountains? The young warrior asks, and Tyke pauses before answering, because this is the part of the story that still gives him nightmares. After 20 years, some say it is the spirit of Day still guarding his destroyed home. He says others believe he escaped through underground cave systems that we never found, and now lives somewhere else planning new attacks against our forces. But every human prisoner we capture tells us the same thing when we ask them about snipers like Day. Tyke stands up and walks to the large window that shows the alien base stretching out under foreign stars. They say there are thousands of humans just like him scattered across every planet we want to conquer. Ordinary teachers and farmers and shopkeepers who become invisible death when their families are threatened. They say that fighting one human, defending his home, is harder than fighting 1,000 humans attacking yours. The young soldiers think about this idea that their enemies include not just trained warriors, but regular people transformed by loss into something their military training never prepared them to face. How do you fight someone who has nothing left to lose and knows the ground better than you know your own weapons? When we interrogate human prisoners, they tell us stories about others, like Tyke continues. A grandmother on Kepler 438b who killed 200 soldiers with homemade explosives. A teenage boy on Ross 128b who used hunting traps to eliminate entire patrols. A factory worker on Proxima Centauri who turned his knowledge of machinery into deadly sniper tactics. Each story follows the same pattern. Ordinary humans who lose everything they care about and then disappear into terrain they know better than we could ever learn, becoming ghosts that haunt our occupation forces for years. The briefing room remains silent as Tyke explains how the legend of Day has spread far beyond the mountains where he made his stand. Human resistance fighters across the galaxy now call themselves Dai's children and use his tactics of patience, invisibility, and perfect knowledge of local terrain to fight occupying forces. Every planet they conquer seems to have at least one sniper who learned from his example. These new snipers do not fight like traditional soldiers. Tyke warns the young warriors. They do not seek glorious battles or quick victories. Instead, they wage invisible wars that last for years, slowly bleeding our forces through careful ambushes and perfectly planned attacks. They turn their own homelands into weapons against us, using every rock tree and cave as tools for killing. Young soldier asks how many of these human snipers are currently active across the galaxy, and Take checks his datapad, showing numbers that make several aliens gasp in surprise. Intelligence estimates suggest there are over 3,000 confirmed cases of lone human snipers operating against our forces. Each one has killed an average of 50 to 200 soldiers using simple weapons and local knowledge. The mathematics are terrifying when calculated across multiple worlds. These invisible, human fighters have eliminated more galactic soldiers than entire conventional armies, through tactics that make every occupation a nightmare of constant fear and uncertainty. No alien patrol can feel safe when walking through human territory because any shadow might hide another day waiting patiently for the perfect shot. But the worst part, Tyke continues, is how they inspire other humans to resist. Every successful sniper attack encourages more ordinary people to take up weapons and disappear into their local terrain. Our psychological warfare experts estimate that each active sniper reduces local human cooperation by 30% and increases recruitment for resistance movements by similar amounts. The young soldiers begin to understand that they are not just fighting a military enemy, but an idea that spreads like infection through human populations. The concept that one person with simple tools can challenge the mighty galactic army has become more dangerous than any advanced weapon, because it gives hope to people who seemed completely defeated. As the briefing ends and young warriors file out to prepare for their missions, they carry with them new respect for an enemy they once thought primitive and weak. They have learned that humans fight not with superior technology but with superior motivation, turning love and loss into weapons more deadly than anything science can create. Tyke watches them leave, knowing that some will not return from their first encounters with human snipers. Despite all their training and equipment, they are about to face enemies who fight with desperation, cunning, and intimate knowledge of terrain that no amount of studying can match. The mountains of a dozen worlds are filled with humans who have nothing left to lose in the galaxy beyond this military base. Ordinary humans continue their daily lives as teachers, farmers, shopkeepers, and parents. But somewhere among them are those who have already lost everything and wait quietly for invading armies to arrive. When that day comes, they will take their simple weapons and disappear into landscape. They know, like their own heartbeat, becoming invisible. Death for soldiers who never learned to fight ghosts. The legend of Day lives on, whispered in alien barracks as a warning, and remembered in human homes as proof that even the weakest can become dangerous when defending what they love. His story has become larger than one man or one mountain, spreading across the galaxy like seeds on solar winds, taking root wherever humans face impossible odds. And somewhere in the poisoned wasteland that was once beautiful mountains, a shadow still moves between glassed rocks when the wind is right, and alien patrols report footsteps that leave no tracks. A teacher who became a warrior, who became a legend, who became hope for every human who refuses to surrender the places they call home. The galaxy has learned that conquering human worlds requires more than superior firepower. It requires breaking something in the human spirit that may be unbreakable. And sometimes late at night, when alien soldiers stand guard duty on occupied worlds, they look toward dark forests and empty mountains and wonder if somewhere out there, another day is watching them through the scope of a simple rifle, waiting patiently for the perfect moment to remind them that humans never truly surrender.